I've talked about several times the differences between an original release and a re-release. And sometimes an original release, you know, or sometimes a re-release, I should say, is sometimes similar to the original. Sometimes it's just repackaged it's with maybe some bonus material, perhaps maybe a bonus disc with new interviews and everything. But the disc that the feature presentation is on is the same one as you got before. Same audio, same pictures, same everything. And sometimes I should say, when a title gets re-released through a different distributor, sometimes it is the same material. Sometimes it is the same bonus features you had gotten before with the previous distributor. And then sometimes it's completely different. Sometimes when a new distributor takes the license of a previous product, they go and do what the other distributor did not. And that is they finally release the entire series or the entire movie franchise on DVD and if nowadays Blu-ray. So imagine a lot of people surprised when you have companies like, let's say, Mill Creek, Shout Factory, kind of exchanging talent, if you will, exchanging talent, if you will. Or should I say exchanging licenses, if you will, and doing what the other did not, or doing what another did not. What I mean by that is, imagine a lot of people surprised when Shout Factory obtained the license of all of the Hasbro franchises they can get their hands on, mostly the big four, which were Transformers, G.I. Joe, Jem, and of course, My Little Pony. So imagine the reaction when some of the first announcements Shout Factory makes is, by the way, we're going to do what Rhino did not. We're going to give you complete releases of every big four show that there ever was. And they started doing this. They started with Transformers, they did it with G.I. Joe, they did it with Jem, and just recently they did it with the ponies. Now some might say that the reason the ponies finally got one after a few years after a few years of Hasbro being partnered with Shout Factory, the reason they finally got a release was because of the popularity of Friendship is Magic. I discussed this a few years ago with Zara Nizrak. I actually asked him a question. I asked him if he thought sooner or later Shout Factory was going to release the ponies on G1. And Zara Nizrak said exactly what was going to happen. He said with the to paraphrase what he said something along the lines that if the Friendship is Magic show does good on DVD and of course Blu-ray, which the movies are on, that there is no doubt Shout Factory would probably go in the direction of releasing the original G1 series. And that's exactly what they did. Shout Factory finally released the G1 series. Now, for me, I didn't really watch ponies that much when I was a kid. When I did watch it, sometimes it was because nothing else was on, or it was raining outside, or whatever. So, when I did watch it, I just watched it for the heck of it. And you know what? For what I watched as a kid, and grew up now as an adult to appreciate, I pretty much look back and think, hey, it was a good show. And here's a little history lesson on the ponies, especially the G1 ponies. Yes, they started with a half-hour primetime pilot, I think in syndication called Rescue from Midnight Castle. But they really didn't get a stepping stone if you will, really didn't step into the limelight until 1986, when, distributed by the same people that distributed Transformers the movie, that's right, DEG, Dig, or D Leonidas Productions, or D Leonidas Group, D Leonidas Group. When D Leonidas Group released My Little Pony the movie, the same people, like I said, who released a few months later, about 6-7 months, about a couple months later, released and distributed Transformers the movie. Only when the movie based on this was released did ponies actually succeed. That's right, succeed and get noticed, to the point that later on that year, not only did you get the series, but you got more than, you actually got a primetime series finale, which was Escape from Katrina, as far as I know. Now, what I do know is Escape from Katrina and Rescue from Midnight Castle were both primetime specials. But the thing is, that's how they got the start. And yes, they're one of those, they're one of the Hasbro shows that has gotten constant spin-offs and reboots. We can all know that when they were on ABC Saturday mornings, and yes, they were on ABC Saturday mornings, that's where they got the most notice, was they were part of a Saturday morning product. Yes, they were in syndication most of the time too, but ABC Saturday mornings did some of their episodes, especially I think in the last season run, because you had My Little Pony and Glow Friends. But the point is, they become such a big hit that, you know, you have they became such a big hit that you had a network like ABC say, okay, let's take a chance on them even for one season, and that's what they did. At least that's from what I can remember. And then, like I said, of course, you had the numerous spin-offs and reboots that, of course, any Hasbro show went through throughout the years. You know, just like, you know, Transformers sort of got retconned and rebooted with Beast Wars. You know, My Little Pony got a retcon, if you will, or a soft reboot with My Little Pony Tales, which aired exclusively at times on the Disney Channel. And then, of course, years later, they got their little kind of like, I don't know how you would describe it. I guess you kind of describe it as a mixture of CGI, 2D animation with the other My Little Pony series, until finally we got what we have today, which is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, which has proven to be a huge blockbuster in the eyes of not just girls but boys, and not just women but men. So it's because of that popularity that finally Shout Factory said, you know what, let's release the original G1 series on DVD. Maybe it'll sell. And that's exactly what they did. But here's the thing, they didn't release it alone. No, they didn't. They didn't release it alone because this came along with it. That's right, this series, this DVD release came along with it, and it contains several two-part episodes, if you will. Because here was the one thing about My Little Pony that made them different from G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Gem. Every episode was a mini-chapter. Here you would have part one, and then when they would go to a commercial, you'd come back, you had part two. And they were just one episode, but they kind of split them like two separate chapters. So here on this one, you had Little Piece of Magic, World of a Would-Be Dragon Slayer, The Revolt of Paradise Estate, Rescue from Midnight Castle, and Flight to Cloud Castle, as well as Escape from Katarina. Sort of a best of deal for the ponies, for G1 ponies. But again, that shows you the popularity that G1 had. And so far the popularity that the current run of ponies are having. Because not only do you get that, but you also get the original G1 series as well. But a lot of people are probably wondering why Shout Factory did this. And probably wondering, didn't we already have a DVD release of the G1 series? Indeed, we did. Right here. This right here is the original Rhino animation or Rhino release of My Little Pony, the complete first season, G1. And as I mentioned before in my DVD Blu-ray update that I did earlier, there's a big difference here. Now, the one thing between different distributors sometimes is how they distribute, how they distribute a product, how they bring it to the masses. You know, sometimes, like I said, they can bring it out to be very similar to its previous release. Sometimes they can go beyond that and not only give you, you know, better quality maybe with the release and give you better and more qualified and more intriguing special features and stuff like that, but they can go beyond that and give you more. You know, Transformers, when Shout Factory released the G1 series, they went beyond the Call of Duty, if you know what I mean. They went beyond that. Excuse me while I check my time here. Okay. But like I said, they went beyond that. They went beyond the Call of Duty. And how did they do that? They did it by releasing the series in not one, but two different formats, but two different, how do I say this, release editions. I mean, of course, you got the one I have, which is the 15-disc set, which is, if I can be careful about this, which is right here. This is the traditional 15-disc set of Transformers. This is the traditional one. But, like I said, Shout Factory went beyond that and said, you know what, we're going to give fans more than what Rhino gave them. We're going to give them more. And how did they do it? They did it by basically saying, okay, we're not just going to give you this 15-disc set, we're going to give you what we call the Matrix They basically said they said, okay, we're not just going to give you this 15-disc set, which is the complete series, all in one place, all released simultaneously and not individually year by year, like Rhino did. We're going to give it all to you all at once, along with another edition we call the Matrix of Leadership Masterpiece Edition, which was a 16-disc set, came in a big box, like it was about this size. You can check Zara Nazarak's video on it. This size had the Matrix of Leadership on the cover, and basically when you opened it up, not only did you get the 16 discs, one of them of course being with special features and stuff, and episodes, but you also got a booklet, you got some other things, I think. Again, you got to watch his video, he'll let you know about it. But you got a lot more of that stuff. And Transformers weren't the only ones they did this with. They did it with G.I. Joe. Of course, just like what I showed you with Transformers, you had a regular collectible box set, or a regular box set, if you will. You had a regular box set, but you also had sort of a Foot Locker-like box set, as a collector set as well, which not only gave you the same amount of disc, if not an additional disc like Transformers did, but it gave you a booklet, gave you a dog tag, I think a USB dog tag, gave you so much more. And that was the one thing Rhino was doing. They were trying to prove that they can give you more than what, not Rhino, but that's what Shout Factory was trying to do. They were trying to prove that, hey, we'll give you more than what Rhino did. And they were doing it. They were doing it.